Hey guys, this is Locke. In this video, I'm going to do a very brief review of the three characters from Final Fantasy 15 in the hopes of helping you guys plan what you guys want to get. Now, actually, it wasn't the same problem myself because of all the units that's coming out, the Halloween units, Oberon that's coming out, and then these units that's probably going to come out within a month. I decided that I need to figure out who I want to get, who I want to pull for, and who I want to invest in. And so I really need to kind of think about it and focus on these reviews to see what they can do. So that's the point of this video, just kind of looking at these units and see what they can do, and hopefully help you make a decision to figure out which of these units, if any, you want to focus on. So the first one I'm going to look at is Prompto. So this is not going to be an in-depth review. This is just going to kind of talk about the unit and how you can use it, what kind of builds it would fit in, and just an overall kind of thing, right? So Prompto, to start with, his accessory or his TMR is not really that great. I mean, CT up is good, but it's only one cast and it's probably used in like niche builds with like Clean Blade or something, but it's not that great. So let's get that out of the way. Now, regarding this unit, I think this would be a terrifying unit if you come across an enemy that doesn't have any missile resistance or any defense. And the reason for that is this skill here. I don't know what it's called, but hopefully the one at the top there. This one basically decreases dark resistance by 25% and then has a 200% modifier. So that skill is going to do a lot of damage. This is similar to when Rosa came out and she had that ice crystal arrow which did minus 25% or I think minus 38% ice resistance. Although her actual attack was lower than Frederica's, she would still do a lot more damage with like worse off espers because of this minus elemental resistance. Basically, that minus 25% is like an overall modifier. If you do if you do a skill like aim fire, which increases missile attack by 38, that is not plus 38%. That's just a fraction of 38. I mean, I'll go into the math another time, but basically it's not an increase of 38%. It's just like maybe half of that. Maybe it's like 16% increase or something, if any, right? But this darkness resist down, that is going to completely multiply the damage that you're doing. And that is on a 200% modifying skill. So that is going to do an insane amount of damage, but this is provided that the opponent doesn't have any missile resistance or defense. So I think that is kind of the weakness of Prompto, actually. First of all, he has absolutely no missile resist penetration in his kit or missile resist down. So he doesn't have any of those skills. For defense, he does have defense penetration on the skill over here at the top. He increases defense penetration by 40, but he has to use the skill first before before he can use this devastating skill that does dark down. So you need 2 turns to do it, and in his mastery he also has 15 defense penetration. So he can get up to 55 defense penetration, which is pretty decent. But you need 2 turns to do that. So against an enemy that doesn't have any missile resistance or any defense, he will do a ton of damage. He will work well in dark teams where the other dark units are not missile units. I mean, there's only like Rairu, right? So I would expect you would have other units that like Black Rosalina or Dwayne. So he would work really well in those teams because, first of all, if the enemy has high missile resistance, he can still use this skill to increase the damage that Dwayne and Black Rosalina will do with the dark resist down. If they don't have any missile resistance because they're trying to fight against Black Rosalina and Dwayne, then he will do a ton more damage because they don't have any they don't have any missile resistance. So like he will do a ton of damage with the skill basically. So that's this whole thing. Like he's kind of similar to Frederica. Because like they'll both do a ton of damage from far away. He basically has the same range as Frederica, -1 actually, because he doesn't have barrage, but he has +2 range from one skill here, and then +2 range and 50% acquired AP on the second skill. So that's +3 range. He has one skill here, which actually has a range of barrage. It's a 6 range skill, so that's +3. That's 9. And then if you use his other buff here, which increases range by 1, so that's 10 range, the same as Frederica. But you have to give him you have to use his own sub job. You can't use the other sub job. And Sniper is a nice addition to him as well. So with gunners, they usually have issues like line of sights, and a lot of their skills are only range 1. So that's something you need to, kind of keep in mind. But if you have his sub job set to Sniper, he actually overcomes a lot of those issues because these skills have height range of 5 and they can shoot over objects. So, and I really like the Sniper class anyway. It has a ton of really good skills in the kit. He gets an additional defense penetration skill, so you don't actually have to use this skill. You can set him to use this one instead. But then if you're playing on auto, you have to kind of be wary of which skills you want to turn on and off. You probably can only put 2 skills on mostly, and usually there are 2 skills. First is the TMR skill, and the second one is probably going to be the skill that targets allies, so that he doesn't run forward, he would run towards an ally. So he most likely will not get a chance to use this skill, the target skill. But the other things that he has in his kit, he has the spell spread, which removes enemies buff. He has a chance to inflict disable, which is really nice. It's always nice to do damage and also have a 50% chance to inflict disable if you're running both yourself and the opponent at 97 faith. He also has the skill which lowers agility. Situationally nice. I like the other skill which lowers movement by 1 more, but this is what we have. But overall, I think he's a pretty nice unit. If I don't know if I'm going to invest in him or not, because I don't know. I'll have to see when I'm going to pull Noctis, and how much Visio I have left over, and so on and so on. But yeah, he's a pretty good unit in itself. He can also work in he can definitely work in range teams as well. You can put him alongside Frederica. There are 2 buffs where Frederica has +1 range and missile attack to allies, and whereas he has +1 range and attack to allies. If both of them cast on each other, they will both do a ton of damage from very far away. And he is good to take down enemies that have high defense, where Frederica is good to take down enemies that have high missile resistance. So the 2 of them can work together like that too. You don't only have to use them in dark teams. You can also just use them in a completely mixed team as well. But if you're doing that, you have to put vision cards that are things like Titan or Ifrit, so that everybody can benefit from it. Things like that. He doesn't only fit in one kind of team. He doesn't only have to be used in dark teams or missile teams. It can be used kind of anywhere, because he has the stuff that he needs to do damage. He has this skill, which will do a ton of damage, and then he can also do take on supporting roles and stuff as well with Dispel Spread. Also, he doesn't he'll probably work a lot more efficiently if he has bells, but he doesn't need to have bells. And the reason for that is because he has something here which increases the acquired AP by 50, and then we got the diamond coat, which also increases acquired AP by 30%. So it's +80, and then his buffs also give him a ton of AP. Like this buff gives him 30, it's 34 TP, which gives him 15, 17 AP plus 80%. So it's almost 30 AP from just that one buff, right? I think that's actually where the power creep is coming in, where units can still do a ton of damage and their TPs are going up, because aimed fire TP is only 30, whereas this one is 34, which might just be the difference to get off a second skill. So anyway, I hope I've talked enough about him that you kind of have a pretty good idea on if you want to go for him or not. Now I'm going to move into the next unit, which is going to be Noctis. Of the 3 units, I feel like Noctis has the best TMR. Not only does it restore some AP every turn for 3 turns, it's not as much as Bells, but it's still something. But it also gives Protect for 3 turns as well. And it has 2 casts. So you don't even have to time it correctly if you're going to use it in manual. But you can just use it at the beginning, and you have another chance to use it later on as well if the fight gets prolonged. So I think that this is one of the best TMRs from the 3 units. Protect I've always really liked because it's really hard to remove Protect, whereas things like barriers or plus defense or plus resistance, those kind of skills, those kind of buffs can be removed. So I really like this this TMR. Now Noctis, I think, is the strongest of the 3, and the reason I think he's the strongest is because of the element that he's in and what he brings to the team. Now the earth element is kind of weak against wind, and we've got a phenomenal wind unit coming up tomorrow, which is Halloween Leela, and she's going to do a ton of magic damage from very high range 7. And she's also going to have increased accuracy as well with one of her skills, although that is a little bit lower range, but she typically has high luck, which means she will probably have a decent chance to hit most evade units anyway. Now, with that in mind, most of the Earth units that we play these days are usually like, Earth evade units, and they're typically weak to magic damage. So having Noctis, which has this skill, increase magic resistance to allies by 38%, I think that is like the unit that you would need to make sure that your Earth team has a chance to survive when magic damage. So he is like the all-rounder in the team that's going to just help the whole team do better. Um, and I mean, he's still a very good unit by himself. I think he can fit in many places. He doesn't only have to be used in an Earth Away team or even an Earth team. He can still support with these skills in anyone, right? Like you can support with other kind of team composition as well. And on top of this magic resistance, he also has this one, the barrier, which reduces magic damage taken by 50% for 3 turns. So again, like I feel like these two skills on a Earth unit, on a physical damage Earth unit, is basically what you really need to fight against these like wind magic teams or just magic teams in general, because typically Earth teams have a weakness to magic anyway. So he is like the answer to that problem basically. So that's why I think he's so good, just because like he's different from, like, for example, you are Zazan. Like they both do a ton of damage, right? But the difference that he brings is being able to survive that magic damage. Now he has like a lot of really interesting skills. He seems like a unit that can close the distance very quickly. For manual, he can use this skill, where basically you don't even have to select a unit. I think you can just select a panel and just move there. So if you're using him in double quicken, or if even if not in double quicken, if you're just using him by himself and you need him to close rangers quickly, he can use the skill to give himself an additional 3 movement. He also has a ninja passive as well to increase his move from 3 jump 1 to move 4 jump 2. So with that and this skill, I feel like he will have a pretty good chance to close the distance quickly between himself and enemies. He also comes with a guaranteed hit, which is really nice, and then he comes with other skills that also help him to move closer to the target as well. So he can use this skill, and then again this skill, which breaks barriers and moves to the target. So he basically has like very easy ways to move towards the target to close the distance. Especially if you're fighting against range teams, this becomes really, really handy. And these are also range 5 skills, height range of 1 and 2, but range 5. And if you pair that with this additional skill, so he has a buff. What this buff does is it gives him an additional attack whenever he uses the skill. The buff that I'm talking about is this one. So he has 2 chances to cast it, and it's active for 3 turns, and it increases his defense additionally by 20. And then whenever he casts the skill afterwards, like if he casts, I don't know, this skill, he will additionally do damage with this. And it'll basically always hit. It has a range height of 9 and has a range of like 9 or 10 or something. So he will always do additional damage with the skill. It seems like it's a typeless but magic attack type. So it's additional damage, and so with the 2 of them together, he will probably do a lot of damage as well. Now, similar to Zazan, Zazan does a lot of damage. I think he is kind of in that theme of doing a lot of damage, but he additionally has all this tools needed to survive magic damage. So I think that's, in a nutshell, that's Noctis. He also has a lot of defensive capabilities as well, not just magic damage, because he has this other, what's it called? His other passive, which increases all elemental resist by 12%. You can stack this with the Alexandrite ring that increases elemental resist of 5%, and that's already like 17%. And then you can stack that with Mercy's Grace from King Mont, and basically you can get his all elemental resist up pretty high. So I think with that he can still be. He doesn't only have to survive magic damage. I think he will be all around, pretty much like a bruiser kind of tank. So yeah, I mean, I think he's a really interesting unit, and of the 3, he's the one that I want to get the most. And then additionally, his limit burst also decreases slash, pierce, and strike resistance. So you don't only have to use him in a slash team or an earth team. You can like mix and match him with like Victura or something, and then you can use this limit burst, and then Victura will do a ton more damage with her pierce attacks afterwards or something like that. So he's a very good unit. I have no doubt that he will be very popular, and I also have no doubt that he'll be very powerful. The third unit is Aranea, I think is how you say her name. I actually haven't played Final Fantasy 15, so if I'm saying any of their names wrong, I apologize. But I think that's how you say it, Aranea. Anyway, so her TMR is interesting. I mean, agility up is really nice, and then it also decreases activation time by 200. It's really nice for her, her jump skills, but I don't know if it's worth a slot. Like I would rather use like agility and barrier, like Black Rose Helena's TMR, although she can't equip it. But as a TMR, I think that something like that is more powerful than something like this. So I think it's better than Prompto's TMR. So of the three, I think this is the second best, maybe. But still, I think it's probably kind of situational when you would use it. Now, she kind of reminds me of Victura. She has a lot of range 4 and just range 4 skills that are on a timer. Basically, like you have to it's like you're casting a magic spell. You have to wait for the cast timer to go to 0 before you can cast. So it's kind of like that. It's like Victoria's jump skills. Like that's what these skills are. They all require a cast timer. For this one, and this one, all three of these skills require some kind of a cast time. But her other skills, they don't require cast time, like these ones. But the trade-off is that these skills have a very low range. These skills are only range 2. This skill here is range 3. So that's the difference. Like you have either skills that are small range, but you can cast instantly, or a little bit longer range of up to range 4, but they do have a cast time associated with it, and you have to factor that to see if she would land the cast before the enemy moves or not. She seems a little bit similar to Victura. Sometimes Victura might even be more powerful because Victura has a limit burst, which also has a high chance to charm, where she doesn't have anything like that. However, she gets access to a second type of damage, which is also a 100% chance to hit. So she gets this, these two skills. Well, it's actually the one skill. It's just an upgrade with her EX. But this one skill, it does strike damage up to 165%. It is, pretty short range. It's only range 2 and range height 1. But it is also guaranteed hit as well. And with all the evade that's going on, and you might even come across these like wind enemies that you're strong against, but you don't have enough accuracy to land a hit, like Tifa, 2B, and then Halloween Leela. So these all could be around evade, and so having a unit like this, which does 100% hit chance to hit, that is really nice to fight against those kind of enemies. So I mean, she has that going for her, and then she also has she can get up to move 4, jump 5 with the Dragoon's standard ability on her Dragoon sub. And then Pugilist, I mean, I don't really like Pugilist too much because the skills are usually not that long range. The range is usually up to 3, and it's kind of difficult to get into range to actually do damage. That's what I find most of the time, but some people have used them really well, so I don't want to comment too much on Pugilist. But I feel like she is like a true hybrid, because even if you don't take Pugilist as a sub, she still has some capability of doing strike damage with this skill. If you do take Pugilist as a sub, then she has additional skills that she can do, even more devastating attacks with strike damage. So she can do strike damage and pierce damage, and these two are some of the less common types of damage that you can do. So people are less likely to build resistances to these two types of attacks. So she will play very, very well with Victura. And she also does have some missile resistance of 20, and then she has charm resistance of 50% as well. So if you pair her with Victoria and you use the Mask of Deceit skill, not skill, but Mask of Deceit VC, they will both have up to I think like 40% missile resistance or more, if depending on what else you put on them. But if you are fighting against, rangers and gunners, and you have a setup like this with both Aranea and Victoria, and you run towards them, they might be able to focus and kill one of them, but the other one will probably reach them fast, right? And will just take them out, because typically they don't survive one hit unless they reflex. If they reflex, then you're out of luck. But yeah, I mean, I think she can pair well with Victoria, but she doesn't have to. She can also be a replacement for Victoria. Um, but Victoria has a cost of 70, whereas she has a cost of 90. So that's something to keep in mind. But if you're pairing the two of them together for things like class match and other things, you can kind of bring the cost down a little bit just because Victoria is 70 cost. So that might work in favor for you. I think she looks really nice. Like, I think she's a unit that I would really like to have, but I don't know if I would have enough Vizier left to pull her. I still haven't decided who I would focus on second. Noctis is who I want to focus on first. For the second choice, I haven't decided if I would go with Aranea or Prompto because they're both interesting. And I also don't know if I have enough Vizier to raise them. Prompto is given for free, so that's a plus. But I just don't know if I would have enough Vizier to raise him or not. So I have to think about that. But yeah, I mean, these are all kind of like my initial thoughts of the three units. I wanted to share them and let you guys know what I think about them so that you can also start thinking about who you want to get. It can also help you decide if you want to get, like the Halloween Frederica tomorrow or Oberon next week, and which VCs you want to get. It's all about planning. So that's what I'm hoping to help you guys to think about what you guys want to invest in. Anyway, that's all from me for now. If you guys have other questions or comments, please leave them down below. And I hope to see you guys in the next video.